Hello Cancer, great to have you here. My name is Shauna. Today's reading is a general love forecast for November 2025. As always, take the messages that resonate and release anything that doesn't. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay connected with upcoming readings. Let's see what's headed your way, Cancer.
And before I start with this reading, I just want to say a few things here. I feel like the going to continue, especially through the first week of this month. And so what Mercury retrograde does for you guys, and I'm seeing it here in this spread, is that it's going to make you walk down memory lane, okay? Not physically, but I feel like emotionally. It's going to drag up a few things from your past that you might not have reconciled with. And it's going to, I guess, like trigger some of those events, some of those circumstances in the past that you felt like things could have, taken a different turn. Things could have turned out in a different way. Things could have been different. Okay, so you're going to go through, especially the first week, through this period of like it's a slump. Okay, it's a walk down memory lane. It's going to evoke some of those feelings that might not be completely pleasant. Okay, so I guess the challenge for you guys for this month is to kind of like come to terms with them. And if it makes you uncomfortable thinking about it, just ask yourself, like, why is it making me uncomfortable? Why am I suppressing it? Why am I not, I guess, like, why am I not able to release it? Why does it make me feel comfortable every time it comes up? Okay, so I feel like you have some murky waters that you need to kind of like plug up your nose and just kind of brace for impact and just walk through. And once you go through that process of emotional purging, you're going to realize that, you know what, they're just thoughts, they're just words, they're just events in the past. They can't really hurt me anymore. The whole concept about discomfort is coming through. Discomfort, displacement, no longer being in an environment where you feel familiar, where you feel safe. Not that it's you're unsafe in a physical way, but it's sort of like you have changes that are brewing, you have changes that are coming. And so you kind of need to kind of purge this emotional past so that you can kind of move on and meet and face your future head on. Does that make sense? So the whole concept about discomfort comes up, and it's every time there's a thought, every time there's a situation, every time you think about a person, and if it triggers you in a way where you feel uncomfortable, you kind of need to ask yourself, why does it make me feel so uncomfortable? Does it reveal a weakness within me that I need to be aware of? Okay, because I do see that coming through. Does it reveal an aspect of myself that I might not have been made aware of? Does it reveal something about me that I need to come to terms with? Because a lot of the times when we're dealing with another person and our interpersonal interaction with another person, it reveals a lot about us, okay? And the things sometimes that we dislike or we find like repulsive in another person, if we dig deeper, I feel like there's some underlying I guess like similarities between that person and us that we want to kind of purge from ourselves, okay? And that's why these are like trigger points. And so realizing, why does that person make me feel so uncomfortable? Why was that situation so uncomfortable for me to think about? Will really help you. It's like you have an aversion for something, you don't want to think about it, but actually thinking about it, sorting through your feelings, sorting through how you feel about this situation, and what within you is being, I guess, like triggered or poked at or prodded at. I'm sensing that it will reveal a lot to you about, letting go of this or purging this or really understanding yourself and why these things have been such trigger points for you in the past, okay? So I would say like the first week of March, it's not going to be completely, I want to say, you're going to be in a much better frame of mind, and you're going to feel so much better, so much lighter, and the purging needs to happen in order for you to feel lighter. And I feel for many of you, it is emotional purging. For many of you, it is like physically purging belongings, stuff that has accumulated, okay? Ways of dealing with people, or even like unhealthy coping habits that you've been resorting to as well. So I do feel like there's a lot here to be said about growth, about self-awareness, about really understanding yourself and realizing where your strengths and your weaknesses lie, so that you can work to fortify your weaknesses and you can work to enhance your strength. Okay, so it's all about self-care, it's all about self-awareness, it's all about, grooming the self in preparation for all the really wonderful good things that you have coming for you. So the way that I look at this reading, it seems like this, okay? Honestly, everything that is over here is phenomenal, okay? We do have these two cards that they're coming out very early on in the spread, so I feel like their energy can feel a little bit heavy. So these are emotionally heavy cards. And then if you can, find yourself kind of like bouncing above this, or overcoming this, everything here looks very promising. All right. When I was shuffling out this spread for you, I saw an image, and it looks to me like a gas station back in the 60s, 60s, 70s. So I see this young man. He's driving like an Oldsmobile. Like it's a really, really old car, but he painted it red, and he takes really good care of it. He's giving it like premium grade gasoline. And he's very young too, so he looks like he's about 20, and he's wearing like just a it's not super clean, but just a white simple shirt, and he's wearing like pants and suspenders. He's got a little hat on, so he's like polishing the car. He's putting gas in it, and it's like it's very shiny. It's shimmering. It seems to me like it might be a car that his dad passed down to him or his grandpa passed down to him. But either way, I feel like for someone who's so young, he has such a beautiful car. It seems like it's passed down to him, and so it has sentimental value. So he's at a gas station pumping gas. And then there's this another man, older, possibly in his 50s, kind of haughty, kind of like stuck up looking. And the man admires the car, and then he approaches the young man. He was all like, "How much you want for that car?" And the man's like, "Oh, it's not for sale." And he goes back to pumping gas. And the older man was all like, "I'll give you, 5,000 for it." And the guy was like, "Sir, it's not for sale." And he goes, "I'll give you, 6,000. He goes, "No." And then the guy keeps upping the price, like 7,000. And the young man tries to ignore him. And the older man, he's kind of like getting kind of upset, feeling like he's ignored, feeling undermined, feeling like, "Why don't you want my money?" Things like that. And so I feel a little bit of a standoff, like a little bit of a confrontation between these two people. And it's done in a very subtle way. And the older man is thinking, well, everyone has a price, There's a price for everything. And then the young man just keeps ignoring him. And he goes about his business, wiping the car. And while the gas is filling up. And the older man was all like, well, everyone has a price. He tells the young man that. And the young man was all like, "This is not for sale." Or, like, "I'm not for sale," or "I don't have a price." Okay. So when I saw this, I was thinking, you're pretty much like the young man. Okay. And the mentality here is that there's a situation that you're not really compromising on. Okay, so it could be like a negotiation, a bartering process where somebody is trying to get the best deal. And I feel like you're very fixed about what you will or will not compromise on. And you're very fixed about what you will or will not tolerate, or you're very fixed about where you stand. Okay, it's like, I will not budge from this position. So it's very much about defending your territory, not letting people walk all over you. But at the same time, the underlying message here is you're staying true to yourself, and you're realizing there are some things that money really can't buy. Okay. And so when I saw that scene, I feel like the energy is played out in both of these cards. So first of all, we have here the Ten of Swords and the Seven of Pentacles. And let me talk about these two cards in tandem, because I feel like for many of you, you're going through this very reflective, introspective mode, and you're trying to, you're looking at events from the past. You're looking at everything that you have done. Okay, he's got a broom in his hand, little red broom right there, and it's like cleanup. Okay, major cleanup, major repairs, major like overhaul. Okay, like I feel like it's cleanup, cleaning up the pieces of your life, cleaning up a situation that has gone astray, cleaning up a situation that has gone awry, cleaning up after a potentially like an aftermath of some event that was not completely desirable. Okay, cleanup is messy. Cleanup is no one wants to do it, honestly. And so I feel like there's a situation here where something needed to be cleaned up. And you've gone through that process of cleaning up, and you're sitting still, contemplating and trying to figure out, what was that all about? What could I learn from it? Why did it happen? Why did these events happen the way in which they did? And, how do I ensure that it doesn't happen again in the future? I feel like there might have been a falling out, okay, between you and another person. I have here the Ten of Swords. And the Ten of Swords is sort of like being very hurt by the actions and the words and that somebody, it's like somebody saying something or doing something to you that is very, very hurtful, okay? And with the Ten of Swords, it's like, whoever that's launching the swords, they had 10 tries and they hit the target every single time. So it feels like it's very personal. It feels like very directed. And it feels like, I feel like somebody really hurt you. Somebody might have said things that really triggered you. Somebody might have aimed for your weak spot. Somebody might have, kind of like hit below the belt or targeted you in a way where it was very directed, it was very purposeful, and it was done in a way that was like, there's no coming back from it. There's no way to say, oh, I'm sorry, and make this situation go away. There's no reviving this situation. There's nothing that anyone can do now to make all the pieces come back together. And so I feel like there was a situation in your life that has, ended, and it ended in a pretty crappy way. And so you're looking at the aftermath. You're looking at, why did this person do what they did? Why did they behave in such a manner? What did I do to deserve this? And are they aware of how much they've hurt me? Are they aware of, how sensitive I am? Because Cancers, you guys are very deeply sensitive. And that is why you don't go out of your way to hurt anybody. Because you understand that, words can cut and words can't be rescinded. They can't be taken back. And so I feel like you're contemplating and trying to understand this situation. Why did they say such hurtful things? Why did they do what they did? You're struggling to try to understand, like, why did they take it so personally? Or why am I even taking this so personally? And what you have to understand, though, is I feel like, there was a situation here where somebody's ego was at stake. Okay, somebody's like, somebody either felt very ignored, somebody either felt very undermined, kind of like that man. It's like, I'm here, I'm trying to make you an offer, and you're not even listening to me. You're turning away, and things like that. And I feel like you were dealing with somebody, and whatever you told them, they couldn't take no for an answer. Okay? It's like telling them no multiple times. And you guys in general are not super assertive. But when you say no and then they refuse to acknowledge your no, or they refuse to accept it, I feel then, you start to ignore it. And then I also feel like this person was like fighting for attention. This person wanted to be the center of attention. This person wanted to make themselves heard. This person felt ignored. They felt overlooked. They felt like it was really affecting their ego. And so whatever was directed at you, it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them and their insecurities. Okay, not being able to hold their own, not being able to, talk to you like an adult, not being able to kind of approach you in a serious manner and in the spirit of, resolving things rather than just blindly attacking you. So I feel like there's a situation here. And no matter how much you try to, kind of like go over the events in your head, I feel like there wasn't another way that there wasn't another outcome that could have come out of this. You did what you had to do. And I feel like whatever, toxic venom that was thrown at from the other party, I feel like they did that out of a space of weakness, and they would have done this to anybody and not just you. But they felt like they were being ignored by you. They felt like you weren't giving them the time of day, and it really upset them. And that's when they kind of spew venom. And so, looking at the situation, the best thing to do is not to try to understand another person's motives, okay? A lot of the times we want to give somebody the benefit of the doubt. We want to, believe that, well, people are all kind and sweet and helpful. But I feel like in this situation, it's stirring some really, really deep-rooted insecurities within the other person. And so their emotional reaction was not rational. And so trying to, understand it, trying to make sense of it, I feel like it might not be the right way to go about it, okay? Like, why did they say these hurtful things to me? Why did they behave in that way? And their actions was not coming from a space of rationality, so don't try to wrap your head around it, okay? It doesn't make sense. Does that sound like I'm making sense? So, aside from this little tidbit, I feel like it's a conflict. It's done and over with. There's nothing to be repaired. Okay, nothing can be done. Nothing can be repaired. Nothing can be fixed. Nothing can be salvaged. So it's a done deal, and because it's a done deal, we kind of need to move on. Okay, so Ten of Swords. This is an ending here. A major relationship, a major situation has a major phase in your life even has kind of like ended. You're doing the cleanup. You're dealing with the aftermath. You've already cleaned up. Your memories will get triggered. Events will trigger and bring you back to that emotional space. And don't try to make sense of it, okay? Do your cleanup. Resolve the situation within yourself and move past it. Because what is right behind you and you're kind of turning your back to is we have the Ace of Wands. And then we also have as well the King of Swords, okay? So this indicates to me a lot of new energies that are in store for you that you need to be facing head on, okay? The Ace of Wands usually indicates some type of a new project, something that is very phenomenal, something that you can kind of like carry into your future with you. It's the Wands energy is a torch, okay? It's like something that is exciting and fun and passionate, and you're going to feel very committed and very driven. A lot of the times too, it's like a whoosh, like a really fast, swift energy that denotes changes, forward movement, momentum, and it happens really, really fast. So while you're mulling over this situation, if you're too caught up in the past, this opportunity might slip you by. So you need to be very quick on the uptake, and you need to be physically looking at it, reacting to it, and grabbing it right when it comes in. Because like I said, this is very fast, and is in an element that is counter to yours. It's a fire energy. You're a water sign. And so you need to be very decisive, okay? And the King of Swords, this is a message here about, being very, very discerning and being very decisive. Let's be honest, Cancers. I feel like decisiveness is not really your strong suit, okay? And the best way that I can explain this, and I don't know if you might relate to this, but what I feel is like with the Cancerian people, you know how if you look at the night sky, right? Every night, the moon, it changes its shape, okay? So it's like it grows bigger and bigger from a crescent moon into a full moon, and then it waxes, right? It reverts back to a crescent shape, and then it disappears. And so the phases of the moon changes, the shape of the moon changes from one night to the next. And I feel like with Cancerian people, you're ruled by the moon. That's your ruling planet. And it can be a little bit frustrating to really figure out what you want, to really be 100% sure about what you want. Believe it or not, other signs don't have the same problem. They're very decisive. They know with every fiber in their being what they want to do, what they want to say yes to, what they want to accept. But I feel like for you guys, figuring out that 100% certainty has been like an uphill battle. And I feel like even when you really want something, you're never 100% sure. And I feel like from one day to the next, your feelings, your emotions, your sense of decisiveness, it fluctuates. And so there might have been like a lot of opportunities where you're kind of like mulling things over, and then before you know it, the opportunity slips you by. And there might have been times when you're just kind of like thinking about all the missed opportunities, all the things that slip you by while you were waiting to make a decision. And so the message here is life is accelerating. It's not going to stop. And life is not going to put itself on hold on account of any human being, on account of a mortal. Life happens. We need to roll with the punches. And so taking the time to mull things over is definitely, something that everyone should do. However, I feel like there has been missed opportunities, multiple missed opportunities. While life was throwing you curveballs, while you were distracted with other things, I felt like the more important things really slipped away. Sort of like looking at the past and just realizing, you know what, that doesn't serve me any purpose, wallowing in self-pity, I'm going to cut that off. And using that sword of truth here and slicing that out. And then looking towards the future, here's a good opportunity for me that will make me tremendously happy. Queen of Cups, look how ecstatic she is. This is kind of like finding that space of perfect equilibrium where you're feeling very emotionally hopeful and happy and satiated and you have all your needs met. So I feel like there's something coming through that has a lot of potential that will make you really, really happy. And this is where your energy, your frame of mind should be focused. And so you have to be aware of the tendency to kind of like wallow in this situation and then moving away from that, recognizing when it happens, recognizing the heaviness associated with it, so that whenever that heaviness creeps in and you start to feel it in your being, right, you want to shake it off and move yourself here. Okay, so this is all about knowing ourselves really well, knowing what how we feel, knowing what's not good for us, knowing what we need to move away from, and knowing what we need to kind of like embrace and focus on, and focus our energy and our resources on, because there's a lot of room for growth. Okay, so the Empress is all about that, being really in charge and secure within yourself. The Empress is about abundance. It's about creation. And it's also about like, it's somebody who's very nurturing, very caring. And whenever I think of a Cancerian person, I think of the Empress, because the Cancerian person, they will invite, guests to their home. They will feed their guests. They will make sure everyone is comfortable, everyone's happy, everyone is thoroughly fed. And it's like being very gracious, being a really good hostess, but really caring about another person's well-being, really caring that the person has enough to eat, really caring that the person is, not suffering from the cold and the heat or the chills of the elements. So I feel like there's a lot of opportunities here where you are in charge. You're going to be either taking care of people or, making sure that people are well taken care of. And so I feel like there's some project here that are in the works for you that will make you really happy. It's kind of like right up your alley, and it speaks to it will require you to tap into all the skills that you're very proud of within yourself. Being a good caretaker, being of service to other people, being in an environment where you can, make a situation better for a group of people, for humanity in some way. So I feel like it's not ego driven. It's a position or a situation where you can put all your skills to good use, and this is where your energy needs to be focused. Okay. Um, you have two aces here. Oops, sorry. You have the Ace of Wands, which is new projects. Okay, something that's coming in very, very fast, very, very fast, and it's catching you unawares. I'm feeling. And then we have as well the Ace of Swords and two aces. And the Ace of Swords is about being decisive. It's about figuring out what you want. It's about being clear with yourself about what you want. It's about being decisive and not waffling back and forth and then telling yourself, I just feel like one day you're just like very gung-ho about it. You're very like much on board. And then the next day, the self-doubt creeps in. What ifs? What if this? What if that? And so I just feel like you can be 100% decisive one day, and then the next day you're kind of waffling back and forth. And so this is pretty much, telling yourself, choose something and commit to that course of action until that course of action has run dry. I feel for many of you, this could also be like a relationship situation where from one day to the next, the relationship is like an emotional roller coaster. Okay. And when it's like at a high point, it's really good. And you're just like, I want to marry this person. And then when the there's like an emotional dip, or when, there's like, it's at a low point, you're just like, I want to break off this relationship. And so things are very extreme, okay? Things are very like, much like from one day to the next, it's very extreme. And I feel like, your emotions, your feelings are changed based on things that are, you feel though it's outside of your control. But what I'm sensing here is there are certain things that we need to be decisive about, okay? And there are things that we need to anticipate. Life is not going to be a bed of roses. I almost feel like, this energy about romanticizing things too much, wanting everything to be rainbow and lollipop. I feel like you're smart enough to understand that there are always going to be high and lows, okay? But in the end, like at the end of the day, everything balances out. But I feel like for many of you, when the high is really high, you're kind of like caught up in that emotional high and you're trying to recreate it. And so when the situation hits an emotional low, you feel like you can't handle. You feel like you don't want to be in it. You feel like you can't handle it. And so what I'm sensing is when it's an emotional high, take it for what it is. And, understand that there will always be good days. There will always be bad days. And don't let those bad days dictate how you feel. Don't let those bad days get you into a negative space. So emotional moderation is one thing, but also being realistic enough to know that there are always going to be ups and downs in life, at work, in relationships, in all your interpersonal dealings. And so as a result of that, realizing that and recognizing it, I feel it's going to make things a lot more realistic, okay, a lot more manageable, so that your emotional state is not rattled every single time, okay? So it's like, don't measure Don't measure a situation based on all the emotional highs and lows. Those emotional highs and lows will calibrate, and they'll even out. And so don't measure how you feel about a situation, about a job, about a person. Don't measure the past, especially based on those emotional highs and lows. Take them all in their totality, okay? I do feel like there's going to be a lot of communication coming through, okay? So we have here the messenger, Page of Swords, okay? This is like somebody with envelopes, like physical mail that you are getting at your door, okay? Packages, mail, communication, emails, text messages, phone calls, and things like that. Keep your phone charged. Make sure that you're not missing anything. I also feel like there is an element here about reading something too fast and then shooting off an email and then finding out that that you might have read something incorrectly. So really taking the time to scan those emails, to sit still and and diligently read everything that's included in that message, rather than what you want it to say, or rather than what you think it's saying to you. Read what it's really saying, because I feel like it's almost like I'm seeing a message where somebody is saying like either or, like, do you want to do this? If not, you want to do this instead. And then all of a sudden your mind clamps on to the first thing that you see, and you're just like, oh, I want to do that. And then, so I feel like, there's a fixity, like a fixedness when it comes to reading what you think you want it to say rather than what it's really saying to you, okay? A lot of the times during the Mercury retrograde period, the shadow, we're going to leave the shadow period completely by, I believe it's the 11th or the 15th. I can't remember. I didn't keep track of it this month. But what it does is that when the Mercury retrograde cycle is happening, Mercury, the planet that facilitates communication, mental processes, processing information, and so forth, is not in the sky. It's working its way backwards. And when it's not there, we have to be extra diligent about doing our part to make sure communications don't happen. So that means we need to scan emails. We need to read it twice. We need to make sure something is sent. We also need to make sure that we don't miss messages or important communication that's coming through. We also need to make sure that when we say something, we explain ourselves so that other people don't misconstrue what we say. And so I feel like it's an important time to, take that extra protective measure to make sure that you're reading what is really on the page, not what your mind wants to see, okay? And so there's a lot of important communication, very, very, very important communication coming through. And it's linked up here with the Wheel of Fortune. So Ace of Swords and the Wheel of Fortune. And the Wheel of Fortune it's a major arcana card. It's a big deal, and it's a really, really good card. It's basically telling you your luck is turning for the better. And it's basically telling you one major cycle of your life is coming to an end. And the wheel is turning so that something new is coming in, okay? This is a major life-changing type of a month for you. And you have a lot of executive decisions that you need to make. You need to be very decisive. And you need to verbally, I'm hearing this crowing of the rooster. You need to very, very physically, verbally tell somebody how you feel. This could be like, no, leave me alone, or no, I'm not for sale, or no, this is not what I want, or no, this is something that I want. So whatever it is that you need to say, I feel like you need to verbally say it. You need to, state your intentions. You need to be able to not only think about what you want and feel what you want, but you need to be verbally able to state exactly what you want and to be very decisive, okay? For those of you who are going through like any type of a situation where you're kind of like put on center stage and you have to defend your stance, or you have to make a speech, or you have to do a presentation, or you have to persuade somebody, or even get somebody to come around to your point of view, you have kind of like that golden chalice. You have the gift of the gab, and you have the power of persuasion, okay? And so there are a lot of messages that are coming through and a lot of like communication that will be front and center for this month. Make sure that we are stating our intentions very, very clearly. The last card that I do want to talk about here is we have here the Seven of Wands. And the Seven of Wands is, okay, so let me just talk about this. You and Libras and Pisces. This is an energy of assertiveness, okay? Cancers, I feel that you, Libras and Pisces, are like wildly inoffensive. Very, very inoffensive. So that means that you don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to upset anybody. You guys are really, really nice. And I feel like, you would never go out of your way to make yourself kind of like center stage, okay? For those of you who have like a lot of Leo placement, or even like fire sign placement, Sagittarius, or even Aries, you might want to rock the boat. But I feel like the majority of you, this is somebody who's like very inoffensive. They don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to hurt anybody. They don't want to be a contrarian. They don't want to go against the herd. Not that you're not opinionated, but I feel like you're opinionated. And, but in a crowd, I feel like, you want to kind of like go with the herd. And the Seven of Wands, this is about, battling all the opposition. Okay. This is like being stuck on a hill and all the wands are coming at you, where you have to defend yourself, where you have to defend your stance, where you have to like explain to other people why you believe in the things that you believe in and why you feel a specific way. And so this is a card mainly about, it's about self-awareness. It's about self-assertion. It's about assertiveness. And, really giving somebody a piece of your mind so that they leave you alone. Okay. Kind of like that young man with the Oldsmobile. This car is not for sale, sir. And, raise your voice, say what you need to say so that the other person gets out of your face. And I feel like there's a lot of power to be had here by speaking your truth, by stating your intention, by, saying something with assertiveness, and let that be enough to make the other person accept what you have to say. It's not about, repeating ourselves. No, it's not really for sale, and kind of like in a passive aggressive way, but like saying, no, it's not for sale. I'm not for sale. I don't want your money. I don't want your attention. I don't want anything you have to give me. And so I feel in a way it's sort of like coming to terms with times in the past where you have not been like this, where you felt like your power, the things that you say have been drowned out, where you felt like you didn't have an opportunity to speak at the past and figuring out